Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting. Today is July 8th, 2019. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:32. Can we call the roll, please?
Sure. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez is running late and is not here at this time. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava Esparza? Here. Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thanks. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, officers' reports. We'll start with mine. First on the agenda this evening, you've got a request to approve a 6B tax assessment for a new business known as the TRI Group, LLC, and Quality Pressure Washing Corporation, soon to be building at a new property commonly known as 12530 South Springfield Avenue. They did submit an application which was qualified through our village attorney. Is there anyone here from there tonight? From Quality? Gentlemen, come on up. If you would, if you use that microphone, you got to put it kind of close to your mouth. That thing's real sensitive.
Like this?
Yes. If you can just tell us your name and go ahead. If you want to give us an overview of what you're going to do.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Anthony Aguilar. I'm the general manager. With me is David Corral. He's the owner of the company. So we plan on building an indoor truck wash, detailing, washing facility. It's going to be about 15,000 square feet at the address that Mayor Ryan previously mentioned. Within the facility, we'll have about 20 to 30 employees. We plan on hiring locally from Alsip and the surrounding townships. I don't know. Other than that, we plan on operating our current mobile truck washing and fleet washing business out of the same facility, which we have 20 employees full-time, existing with that. We're working with Wayner Enterprises for the development, and hope everything goes well today.
No, that sounds great. Actually, Mr. Aguilar, last week I took a ride out, take a look at the property. That's a perfect spot too. That really can use a little infusion. This is it's just so everybody knows, it's an older lot that Alsip Construction had for parking some equipment on and just some of their materials and so forth then too. This actually backs up at 125th and Springfield. It kind of backs up to the AT&T property that everyone sees on Pulaski all the time then too. While I was over there, I actually stuck my head in the door and I spoke to the other local business owners over there just to kind of say hello. It's hard. I mean, as much as we're organizing some of those meetings right now too, but I enjoy meeting some of your neighbors and so forth and seeing if they have any concerns as well too. And didn't get any of that, and certainly they appreciate the fact that that's going to be developed, that big yard that you're looking at over there and too. I was reading through your application, and basically the applicant is seeking to purchase this particular parcel of property. I know on the 10th you've got a hearing coming up with planning and zoning, right? Because you have a special use permit that needs to be granted yet too. So
that's correct.
We're not going to vote on this tonight, gentlemen, but obviously we want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the board and just to look at this particular project yet then too. So this property consists of one vacant lot, approximately 87,000 square feet. The applicant plans to spend approximately $1.6 million to construct a new approximately 15,000 square foot industrial warehouse facility. New facility be comprised of approximately 15,000 square feet with a clear height of almost 17 feet, 6 inches, and 1,200 square feet of office space. There's going to be 14 automobile parking stalls, 2 handicap, and this will include 4 docks as well for storage for at least 9 trucks. Construction of the new facility is expected to create 65 to 70 temporary construction jobs. Again, you understand too, you've got a very good attorney here. Mr. Liston does a lot of work with us all the time, so I'm sure Brian explained to you at the same time all the provisions that by participating in a 6B as well too, that you're going to be paying the Cook County living wage, to your employees, so it's at least $13 an hour with benefits, 15 without, and we're starting to establish now a roster where you have to actually provide payroll to the village, too. We have to actually monitor this now, too. This is all new language with Cook County right now, then, too. So for a lot of us, while we've been granting these, I should say, these are all just recently just starting to come through, too. It takes everybody a few months, because that language just came through, maybe 5 months ago, something like that. So I'm sorry, sir, are you the attorney with the group, too? Okay.
Yes, I'm Chris Zarek from Brian Liston's office. I was the attorney that submitted the application to Vince Kankar.
Oh, I'm sorry, you work for...
Correct.
For listening to us, thank you.
Yeah.
So, the application looks good. So obviously this is going to be, as well as the truck wash. What are you going to have? It's a semi-truck car wash? Is that it's going to be automated?
Yeah, not necessarily
just
automated,
pressure washed, right?
More of a hand wash.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for semi-trucks and any construction equipment, larger commercial vehicles.
Okay. And then you were okay, so you've been in business since 2006?
Yes.
David, thank you. David Corral. And basically, the mobile fleet's truck services will be housed at a facility to operate within a 100-mile radius of Alsip. That's how far you go out, David, to do your work? Okay. So, trustees, I know everyone had this in their packet. Did you have any questions for the gentleman?
Well, the first question I have is, do you own the property yet?
Where we're at now?
The 12530?
No, we're in the process of purchasing that property.
Because, I mean, I know we've got it on the agenda under planning and zoning for further discussion on this property tonight. But I say I'm just of the opinion, until we actually know the results of the planning and zoning and the actual property purchase, aren't we jumping the gun a little bit here?
No, because with this application, basically planning and zoning is going to get back to us and make their recommendation as far as approving whether or not to approve a special use on the property. Our job is just seeing if we want to qualify him to participate in a 6B, two different issues. Because we certainly wouldn't, based on plan and zoning, I mean, obviously that's the aspect of whether or not, like the trustee said, if you're purchasing a piece of property and if we feel it's a good use for that property is the recommendation they're going to make. And the other side is the business side of this, whether or not the board wants to support, a tax incentive to obviously have you bring your business in our community then too at the same time. So that's what I'm saying. It's two different issues. But we'll obviously look forward to getting the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation back to us as to whether to approve, if they agree with you to put that business in that particular spot. And then at the same time, we'll be putting this back on the agenda for consideration if we want to approve the 6B tax incentive to bring your business into our community then too. So I know a lot of times, and we try to expedite these as quickly as possible. How quick were you going to start construction?
As soon as we have the approval and we close on the land, it's
Okay.
up to MWRD.
Okay.
To confirm what detention requirements are on that property for the water, then we're good to build.
We know how quickly they work too, so it's we'll do our best to try and help that matter. So yes, we'll see you then on the 10th at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing here, and what's that, Wednesday night, Raj? Yeah, okay.
Wednesday at 7:30.
Sounds great. All right, and again, thank you for considering our community for your business, gentlemen, and we look forward to getting a good recommendation from Planning and Zoning at the same time too.
Thank you. We'd just like to thank
Okay.
everyone on the board for
Sure.
taking the time.
If you would please, gentlemen, if you can just sign in, just because for the record, we spoke today. Next on the agenda, I had continued discussion regarding the state's approval of recreational cannabis. I have been getting a couple of calls. I haven't taken any meetings yet, but I've gotten a couple of calls to schedule meetings with prospective people who feel they're going to get licensing for recreational marijuana. I did give all the trustees tonight, and the clerk, I gave everybody a copy of just a quick overview. I haven't gotten into fees yet and so forth yet too, but just a fact sheet, just to say that on June 25th, Governor Pritzker did sign into law House Bill 1438, which will end cannabis prohibition and replace it with a system to tax and regulate cannabis for adults 21 and over. The new law, which was sponsored by Senator Heather Stearns and Representative Kelly Cassidy, is comprehensive in its approach. In addition to legalizing possession and the use for adults, it expands the current medical cannabis licensing system, includes automatic expungement for cannabis offenses, adds the ability for medical patients to grow cannabis in their own home, and offers significant benefits to communities hit hardest by the inequities that were part of a war on cannabis. So, their language. And I just provided to the board just some, I'm not going to read through all these, but just an overview. Basically, cannabis possession and sales, starting July 1st, 2020, adults 21 and older may possess cannabis and purchase cannabis products in licensed stores. People can only have 30 grams of raw cannabis on their person, no more than that. And then there's also cannabis infused products, depending on the THC content. Also, there's people can only have 5 grams of cannabis products in a concentrate form. Non-residents are only entitled to half that amount, which is 15 grams. There's some information here about expunging criminal records, equity, basically, again, how the bill was drafted to explain that the program provides benefits directly to those who have suffered because of the war on cannabis. So, again, this was language that is taken from the state bill, how it works, and then home cultivation for patients. They're going to allow people with medical marijuana to have as many as 5 plants in their house. I was reading up on Michigan. I was in Michigan over the weekend and reading up out there. Michigan allows up to 12 plants in people's homes yet, too. Wow. So, business licenses, following types of cannabis business licenses will be issued basically for dispensary, infuser, transporter, basically that's a company that would transport cannabis between business licensees, craft growers, and cultivation centers. Transition timeline, October 15th, 2019, applications for up to 75 dispensaries will be made available. These new businesses will serve in addition to the medical dispensaries that get approval to serve adult consumers during the transition. On January 1st, 2020, sales then will begin. Existing medical cannabis cultivators and dispensaries will cultivate and provide adult consumers until additional licensees can apply to get approved. A week later, like January 7th, 2020, applications for infusers, transporters, a new category of cultivators called craft growers will be published for applicants. In March, the state will begin receiving and processing new license applications. In May, new dispensary licenses will be issued, and the state will begin a disparity and market study of the cannabis industry. In July 2020, up to 40 craft grower and infuser licenses will be issued, along with an unlimited number of transporter licenses. Once the disparity and the market studies are complete, the state can issue additional licenses if needed. These licenses must take into account the findings of the disparity study. I also gave you some information on the taxes. At the wholesale level, cannabis products will be subject to a 7% tax when they're sold by cultivation craft growers. 10% tax will apply to cannabis flowered products, 20% with products that are infused with cannabis, and 25% with THC concentration levels higher than 35%. Last couple of points, and then revenue distribution. 2% public education, 8% to the local government distributive fund, 25% to recover, reinvest, and renew program that they have. 20% is going to go to mental health services and substance abuse programs, 10% to pay unpaid bills. This is all through the government, and 35% to the general revenue fund, again, to the state of Illinois. What Illinoisans should know about the legislation: when can I buy pot? Basically on January 1st. How much weed can I have? And like I said, anyone 21 older, 1 ounce, that's 30 grams. Can I smoke pot wherever I want? No. You will still not be able to legally partake in the street or public places. This is much to do, and trustees and everyone listening, this is even in the law, that the bill that they passed said this basically relates to the same laws that you do with alcohol. You can't drink in the street, you can't drink while you're driving, you can't drink in public places. The same thing is going to be true for this. Local governments can decide whether or not to allow pot-related businesses, including those that can allow users to indulge on site, because I have heard some of these places do have, just like a cigar bar, you can have something like that as well then too. So that's something else we need to look at. Can I grow it at home? No. Only medical marijuana folks can that have a license to do so. And that's the next amount of legislation too, is how do we monitor that they only do. So police department will have to, they're going to have more language on that at the same time. Jay, are you getting any language on this stuff coming your way yet too?
No, not really. Just basically what you said is going to be pretty much mimicking the alcohol kind of law. So we'll have to wait for this thing to come a little bit further down the road.
Okay. How will employers deal with the cannabis legislation? Despite lawmakers voting to legalize weed, the legislation will still allow employers to test workers for pot and fire them for using the drug if necessary. I'm actually taking a class on that with our HR manager, Shanae. We've got a class first week of August that we're going to. And then recreational marijuana is expected to bring in as much as $58 million in 2020, largely from licensing fees, and more than double that they're expected the year after. So, again, I just want to keep bringing these conversations up at committee meetings, and in the meantime, I'll keep the board apprised of any results that we have from those meetings and so forth then too. But this is definitely a cultural change for everybody, so this is something that I want to just keep bringing up just so we're all getting acclimated to what's expected here and stuff then too. I just don't want to, like anything else, you crash your car and all of a sudden then we're going to worry about how to fix it and stuff then too. Let's get ready for this in ahead of time. Currently too, for anyone caught with cannabis, is on a first offense is a Class C ordinance violation, which is $100 minimum to $750 maximum violation. Second, if you're caught a second time, it goes up to $150 all the way up to $1,000 at too. So that should be interesting. As far as I know, we're still working out the bugs in that, Chief, too, huh? So the other bills that went through recently too, I don't think all these have been signed yet, and that's why I'm checking the score on those at the same time. I saw some of the new laws that went through before the Congress recessed for the summer. I'm sorry, all the state reserve. I'm sorry, went on summer break. You had House Bill 2276. Was actually they have a new law now that's smoking in vehicles in the presence of a minor. This amends the Illinois Vehicle Code and provides that a person shall not smoke even cigarettes in a motor vehicle containing a person under the age of 18, regardless of whether the vehicle is in motion, at rest, or has its windows down. This provides that a police officer may not stop a motor vehicle solely for the violation, but obviously if they're being stopped for any, provides that a violation is a petty offense with a maximum fine of $100, and that for a second or subsequent offense, the fine shouldn't exceed $250. These are some of the bills that Illinois Municipal League published They have another one that just came out now, too, at House Bill 0345 that prohibits tobacco usage by persons under 21. Illinois is going to raise the age on smoking tobacco up to 21 years old. And again, this should be interesting, as it did back in, I remember, I think it was like, 1980 when they raised the drinking age, wasn't it?
19 to 21.
Yeah, through 19 to 21. So, yeah, all of a sudden you were okay yesterday to smoke a cigarette, and tomorrow you're not. So that should be interesting to happen. And again, tobacco possession, tobacco products sale or possession by a minor, again, is a Class C ordinance violation, so it's $100 for having a cigarette by anyone under 21 years old. And then last I saw in here was Senate Bill 1256, were restrictions on excessive idling of vehicles. I know this has been kind of a hot topic in our community yet too, but this amends the Illinois Vehicle Code, provides that a person who operates a motor vehicle operating on diesel fuel in an affected area may not cause or allow the motor vehicle, when it's not in motion, to idle for more than a total of 10 minutes within a 60-minute period. So 10 minutes within an hour if the vehicle is within 200 feet of a residential area. So that was the kind of the parameter, Chief, we were looking at back when. We never had any, we had air tests done and so forth by the county and whatnot, but this is actually going to actually set up the parameter that we were looking for. So they're talking 200 feet from a residential area that would impose this particular rule.
I would assist with that gentleman that was here last week as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it provides that if a person violates the provisions concerning the excessive idling within 200 feet of a residential area, the law enforcement agency having jurisdiction over the residential area, or the law enforcement agency having jurisdiction over the property on which the violation took place, may enforce the provisions. Provides for certain exemptions, and again, Illinois Municipal League put that out. So just a couple of facts to share with everybody then today. Next I had on my agenda was the request to close the Village Hall at 2 p.m. on Friday, August 9th for an employee appreciation barbecue to be held on village property. Much like we do at Christmas time, it's probably the one time a year at Christmas when we ask to close the Village Hall a couple hours early for an employee organized get-together. Certainly, with something like this, there's never any liquor served or anything like that, but we did want to have an opportunity to have all the employees collectively get together, and certainly this goes out to everyone on shift, and anyone that might be off that day is welcome to attend at the same time. But again, we are, this is an expenditure, which is why I'm putting this to the board for consideration. Any thoughts, anything anybody want to say?
Good idea.
Okay.
I guess my only comment would be then to close at 2, then we would give all the clerk staff in both water and building and in the clerk's office time to close the books out for the day, so I'm assuming that it's not going to start at 2 p.m.?
No, it would probably start right after, I'm going to say probably like 2:30ish, probably get started, late lunch. Next, I had a discussion and a request to approve the Roosevelt Group as a designated lobbyist working on behalf of the Village of Alsip to pursue grant opportunities, capital funding opportunities, and more. I just passed, in everyone's packet, there was an overview of the Roosevelt Group. This is an organization that operates, obviously, in our capital all the time, but they're located in downtown Chicago. I've had a lot of good references regarding this organization. I did speak with our state senator recently about them, and he agreed that they are a good lobbyist group. While the senators and the state representatives are there to look out after our interests, sometimes there are opportunities, whether they're grant opportunities or, like I said, capital bills. Capital bills don't come out too often, but capital funding is available every so often. This organization, their group's president is Victor Reyes, is also an attorney who lends a legal perspective at legislative process and reduces the need for additional legal counsel for legislative review. They have a substantial understanding of the legislative drafting and administrative rulemaking process results in a full range of options for clients, litigation, and so forth. I gave everyone a sheet on some of the recent progress they've made with another community. This was Cicero, Illinois, some of their capital projects, and Trustee, you weren't here when I was handing these out. I'll give you one of mine. That's what they did recently.
Mayor, had you received that letter of engagement from them?
No, that's what I was just going to follow with. Is as far as I can take it for tonight. I just want to get their name, everybody. Actually, they're the gentleman I'm working with. His name is Larry Luster. Great guy. I had a meeting with him last week, and I want Larry to send me in the like a contract so we can review it to see what this will entail. As soon as I've got that, I'll get that back and share that with the board. So for right now, just an introduction as far as who these folks are, and an example of what they've done for another local community is all I can share for the night. That's all I've got. So when I get more, I'll get it back to everybody then too. So that's all I've got for this evening. Any questions? All right, then we'll go with the clerk's report.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. First, let the record reflect that Trustee Juarez joined the meeting at 7:50 p.m. First, under my report, we have the presentation of the June 2019 FOIA report. There were 20 requests in June. Seemed to be a light month, and I probably thought that too soon because here on the 8th day of July, I've already had 7 requests so far this month. Second is discussion for approval to post to fill a vacancy of a deputy collector position in the clerk's office. Previously, I had brought it up to everybody's attention, and we've had a deputy collector who's been out for some time. The extended leave that the board had granted for this person on top of the FMLA did expire on 5/31. There is no anticipated return date at this point in time. This would be a Tier 2 deputy collector position, and under the current AFSCME contract, it's $14 an hour for full-time. I have been working with Sinead to follow up with this person and make sure that we're keeping in touch, and the most recent contact was a week ago. And again, there still is no pending anticipation of a return to work date or even in a different capacity. Also, Sinead did let me know that she did speak with the AFSCME union president today to give them an update of what was going on and the discussion tonight at the committee meeting and the posting of the position, and he has no issues or objections with that. So if this is approved next week at the board meeting, we will go ahead and post it internally for 5 business days. And if we do not have any applicants during those 5 business days, we will then go ahead and post it externally. And then third, request for approval of a refund of $747.80 for a resident that accidentally paid her mortgage amount instead of her water bill amount. And the documentation was there. So if we could kindly grant that so that that person may be reimbursed rather quickly, it would be appreciated. And that is all I have, Mayor Ryan.
Okay.
Just want to look for consensus on that one.
Yes.
Well, on which? On the
mortgage.
Reimbursement.
Oh. I want to go back real quick. I just want to revisit on the deputy collector position. So the reason, let's put it this way, when was the last time we hired in the clerk's office?
We hired from a part-time to a full-time, I want to say a year ago, October.
Okay. So I guess what I'm getting through attrition, we had 2 part-time people in there.
When I first took office, we had 3 full-time and 2 part-time.
Okay.
And then we went to 3 full-time positions.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So when, through attrition, let's say we had Maria working her back a couple years ago. When she left, then we had one of the other ladies took her spot.
We advertised for a full-time position, and within the clerk's office, there were 2 part-time people. They
Right.
both applied, and we did hire one of those people to be a full-time, so then we went to 3 full-time
Right.
instead of 3 full-time and 2 part-time.
And then the second part-time person took a position in my office then, too.
Correct.
So that's what I'm going back to, is we had 2 part-timers in there, and now we're going back to a full-time.
We had 3 full-time and 2 part-time, and as of roughly October 2017, we went to 3 full-time only. So we have been working on 2 full-time people for the better part of this calendar year. So theoretically, previous staffing would be that there would be another full-time and possibly 2 part-timers.
You had
To be
4
hired.
full-time equivalents.
Four full-time equivalents. Right now, I'm operating on 2 full-time,
Okay. And that includes no, we've got the supervisor that's in there then, too.
Right, which not all of the duties are in the clerk's office.
Is this a replacement for the person, or the person comes back? So wouldn't be eligible.
We've reached, any questions for the clerk?
Were we going to do a consensus on the number 3? Does that help?
I suppose we could, because that's just an administrative task anyway, though, so.
You're talking about the reimbursement?
Correct.
We've actually moved away from on the reimbursements when someone pays the wrong amount of going back to the board.
And I understand
and the reason for that is we used to do it as an expense, and when I got here, I said it's not supposed to be an expense. You're supposed to debit back the revenue. It was someone made a mistake. They bought 2 vehicle stickers.
Correct.
They paid the mortgage amount instead of the utility bill. It's not supposed to be coming to the
Right.
board anymore, and we don't need the board approval for that. Frankly, it is administrative, and it just
Okay,
filled
but
up.
because of the dollar amount, we felt that it should have been brought up as
It's
opposed
not-
to $35.
It's not an expense, so it doesn't go through the budget process anymore. If there's a
Okay.
mistake made and it makes sense administratively to redo it because they bought, husband and wife each bought a vehicle sticker, it
Sure.
doesn't make sense to waste the board's time, so we're
Right.
not doing that anymore.
Okay.
So,
With regards to number 2, did HR make a recommendation about the position or send a letter to the employee involved requesting a status, or?
She's followed up periodically with her, and most recently as of July 1st.
I haven't seen anything official, though, come across.
Thank you.
It's like, I know what you're kind of saying, too. I mean, I hate to think, I know what the clerk said, too, that it doesn't look like she's going to come back, but I hate to think we get jammed up for any reason, and all of a sudden the employee wants to come back, and we replace them, or now we've got too many people, and so forth.
That's the only thing I would worry about, get it in writing.
Based on an email from the HR manager on May 30th, updating me on her last conversation, she is still unsure of a possible return to work date. She was informed that her 4-week of extended leave ends on 5/31. She knows her position is available to be posted and filled with a permanent replacement if my office decides to do so. She understood this and did not have any questions.
Okay, it's May 30th she did that?
May 31st.
Okay.
And she has subsequently followed up twice since then.
Okay, we reached the public forum. Anyone in the audience wish to address the board this evening? Nobody? All right, then we'll go to our standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee McGlohan.
Under Finance, I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week, and that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. The fire report, Trustee Murphy.
I have a request for approval to amend Section 9, Article 1, Section 9-4 to include a $250 administrative fee for all alarm conversions from Keltron to another subscriber. Number 2, discussion of Keltron updates. Chief?
I'll kind of do both of these at the same time. So We've been working with another vendor to replace CrossPoints as our Caltron maintenance. One of the recommendations based on customers that they currently have who've gone through the same thing is initiate an administrative fee for our time that it takes to go to convert from Caltron back to another system. I did speak with Danielle, who's our part-time secretary, on what the current process is and how long it takes. So what happens is when somebody decides they want to switch, they have to send us a letter of intent that they want to switch back. They also have to submit paperwork on who the proposed vendor is going to be. And then we have to do our homework to see if they are approved, the UL. Joe Schmidt does that. So there's a little bit of correspondence going back in there and doing the homework on there. Once that is approved, then Danielle goes back and works with them to let them know it's approved. They then have to contact CrossPoints to switch the box out from the current Caltron to whatever system we're going to. And then we have to send out one of our fire prevention officers to ensure that they meet what the ordinance is, plus to test the box to make sure they get a signal, which is about a 15 to 30 minute time period on an average. Sometimes it's a little bit longer, sometimes it's a little bit shorter. So on the administrative side, between everything that Danielle has to do plus Joe, we're a couple hours into this for a system that we established, and we're using more of our labor by losing the customers. They have some customers that charge as much as $450. I think that's outrageous and ridiculous, and I understand why, because it's a way to keep them. So we're looking at closer to what it actually costs us, and also kind of help deter anybody else from switching back over to another system that's already been established for 12 years or so. So that was the proposal, is just to recoup some of our administrative costs with anybody that's convert back over from Caltron to another system.
Now, are we charging them the $125 disconnection fee as well?
No, that actually CrossPoints charges them, and that we charge them, and then CrossPoints charge us. So, because they're the ones that do all the work. The new vendor that we're looking at will charge them. We will not have nothing to do with that anymore, so it makes life a whole lot easier. Same thing with the disconnection fee. The new vendor will charge the disconnection fee, and it'll take it out of our hands instead of us having to bill them and they bill us, and it's more of a hassle than what it's worth.
Okay.
Right now, I'm working with Mayor Ryan to set out the 30-day notice to CrossPoints. Once that is done, and then we will sign a new contract with a new vendor who is charging us the same amount as CrossPoints. They did offer to do billing for the same cost as CrossPoints, and I think right now, and after many discussions with all of you, we're better off keeping the building. We're on top of things. Last quarter we had...
So yeah, it's not going into a big black hole anymore.
No, it's not. Last quarter we had just 25 people out of the 200 and actually roughly 173 have stayed with us. So which is a very small amount, and we're following up with them with payment also, so we don't have the same issues we did before. So we are keeping the billing. It's worked out very well for us, and Danielle's been doing an outstanding job, and thanks because of Brian Massari in the finance department, it's worked out. We're able to account for things that we haven't been able to do since we've had the system in place. Just some other things with Caltron is we've lost between 79 and 80 subscribers, which isn't too bad. It was probably the ones that went kicking and fighting and screaming when we kind of made it a mandatory ordinance, so we're not too bad. We've got 92 contracts and new contracts. We still have quite a few contracts that we have to get signed, so we're working slowly but surely just to update it. But we really haven't lost any vendors, so a lot of that is tapered off right now. So we're doing pretty well with that so far. One of the proposals of the new vendor is to go through and look at every box to see what its capacity is, to make sure there's no shortcomings. Look at all the batteries, and that's one thing that CrossPoints hasn't done. They've been replacing batteries when they go out, and usually we're behind. This company's going to be ahead of the game, so we don't have some of the same issues we're having right now. So, and Oak Lawn's been doing a fantastic job of running the system as well. So it's worked out very well for us. Any questions on the administrative fee? No? All right, good.
And number 3, discussion on overhead door project bids.
All right, so a couple of weeks ago, we had a bid opening for our overhead doors and replacement of the door operators. We had 2 vendors that applied. During the time that this was posted on the village website, something broke with the village website to where the bid opening was. I don't remember the technical term. Once we were notified, I contacted, I think, Brian Massari. He did fix it, but it was still out for several days. So a lot of the vendors could not get the correct bid information. During that time, unfortunately, I was also out of town, so I couldn't be reached. One vendor did reach out to Deputy Chief Ricker. When we first looked at all the information for this bid specification, there was one thing we were tossing around, and it's called a light curtain. So it's an LED light curtain. It's about 3 feet long, and it has a series of red and green lights indicating when the garage, when the overhead doors are either open or closed. We already have a system in place that kind of looks like a stoplight, if you will. So at that time, I didn't think it was relevant or fiscally responsible to go there. That was a nice-to-have thing, not a need-to-have. So that was not included in the bid spec. So one vendor actually did put it in the bid spec. So the original bid that they submitted was for $68,656. The bidder that should have won that night had a bid of $57,471. Once they realized the mistake was made and what they entered into the bid, they ended up sending a resubmittal. Actually, it was actually before we went too far, and they had taken out the light curtains, and they actually went down to $57,471, which is a difference of $2,776 compared to the bidder that won that night. So the question came up because of the discrepancies in the website, and the information was lost. What do we do at this point? Because the actual winner would have been the second bidder, not the one that was announced that night.
Well, have we actually awarded?
No, I haven't done nothing until we had this discussion.
Does it make more sense from your perspective than to, I mean, especially with the technical difficulties? Do you potentially want to throw out all bids and requote, or?
In my personal opinion, I think that is the fair way to do it. Also, the proposal that you are talking about that had included the light bars, they did not include a bid bond, which was
Correct.
part of the bid
Part of the
specification.
requirements, yeah.
So,
Since I've never been through this part before, and that's why I figured I'd throw it out to see what the direction of the board is. If the recommended direction is to throw out and start all over again, then we'll do that. I want to do what's right. I want to do what's fair. I don't want nothing coming back at the board or me. So if that's what, in the best interest of the village, it might be the better of the two things to do.
Has the attorney been consulted?
I did reach out to the attorney, and it was just recommended to speak to the board first, so I haven't talked to Mr. Kankar anymore since.
We can follow up with our attorney tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm going to have to talk to him about the
Chief,
upcoming
is there any
ordinance.
way, I should have asked you this last week when we were talking about this, is there any way to confirm what one company saw and what the other one didn't?
They both saw what had to be replaced between the operators and the doors. Just one company, under obviously the information that they were given was the light curtains were part of it and they were not part of it. That was the only difference.
So, like you were saying, I'm looking at the two quotes here. If one bid was at $68,000, the other one's at $57,000, is that really the value of that? Because I know the lights.
For 12 light curtains, yeah, it's about $11,000.
12 light curtains.
Yeah,
right.
for every door.
Because these lights, like Chief says, what we got right now is just like a red and a green, like a stoplight to tell you when the truck can leave, that the door cleared, that the truck can get out and stuff.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Otherwise, the one that he's talking about are a little more elaborate, where the green lights go all the way up the sides of the
Right.
doors. So it's kind of chasing the door, correct, Chief? Is that
Correct.
what you said?
You're right.
And this way, again, if the driver doesn't see a green light to leave, he's not leaving yet and stuff. That seems kind of elaborate that they would, the light, because you only need to see what's in front of them
Right.
area too, but
And-
again, a product's a
And
product.
the light curtains are both on the inside and the outside. Our current lights are just on the inside.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any need,
So-
well, there would if you're backing a truck in and
Yeah,
stuff.
and we have it in our policy that there always has to be a spotter to back up.
Mhm.
And the engine bay at Station 1 is a drive-through, the ladder truck bay at Station 2 is a drive-through, and right now, we only have 4 bays at each station that have the lights, because those are the ones that the primary vehicles respond out of. So it's a huge difference. I mean, it's, like I said, I didn't think it was necessary that we spend the extra 11,000. Like, it would have been nice, but it's not.
No.
I don't think it's right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure it looks cool, but I'm surprised that somebody even has a system like that.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Oh.
it's new technology.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
But yet, we've had instances where we've hit those doors.
Not since, well, that's one of the issues that we've had with the cabling that's on there, because right now, if the cable fails, the door's coming down. With the new operators, that won't happen, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to switch over to it. So,
See the operators over at the State of Illinois building on Cicero? Those doors open and close Batman fast.
oh yeah, they're quick. Yeah, they're quick. It's unbelievable. I'm surprised they don't have more damaged doors over there.
Yeah.
My
We've had
guess
a
though,
couple.
too, a lot of times, that's a big building, and I would certainly guess those doors are going straight up, Rick. They don't bend. They don't turn and stuff then, too. But, yeah, I know what you mean.
And that's one of the things we looked at with our current doors, and we've had a discussion with the vendors, because on the bottom of your residential doors, just like our doors, once you hit that sensor, it's supposed to go back up, but by the time it stops and goes back up, the damage is already done. So we're looked at that also.
I think we may, as the trustee suggested, which I know we reached out to the attorney, but that was his answer, to see what the board felt.
Correct.
All right, I think we're going to have to volley back one more time. Let's
Right.
get some legal advice on this, because I hate to disqualify those, but at the same time, we might be forced to redo these things then, too.
And like Clerk Petzel said, is the vendor that now has the better price and not follow all the rules, so it's kind of in a trick bag.
Oh, it's just a little bit of fault on both sides,
Yeah.
so.
Now you're going to get a real sharp pencil.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Which actually might be a benefit to us, I don't know. So, we'll see. We'll see.
No,
But,
I
yeah,
mean-
we'll follow up with the attorney, and then if the attorney is good with redoing the bids, and then if it's okay with all the trustees and the mayor, then I'll work with the clerk's office, and we'll get that back out again.
I think that would be the fair thing to do, to redo them.
Because we don't know how many potential bidders were lost.
Exactly. So like I said, we don't want nothing coming back at us, so.
All right, we'll speak with him tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, trustees, mayor.
That's all I have under fire, sir.
Thank you. Next is the police and traffic safety, trustee Dalzell.
Some discussion of police department updates. And I will turn it over to the chief.
I don't know if I could find it on here. Recently, we sent several officers to a class. It's called CIT, and basically it's to assist mentally ill people in making sure they're getting the right help that they need. The class was 40 hours long. They're state certified. And we're really looking forward to kind of working with these individuals to get them the proper care. We've had several incidents over the last couple months. The fire department can vouch for it, where people just aren't properly being taken care of, either by the state or by the caregiver or whatnot. So this will give us an opportunity to work more closely with those individuals and afford them the care that they deserve and they need, and hopefully cut down on calls. It also makes it a safer environment for us and the officers and the people that we're helping. So I don't know if you have that letter, but I can't find it on here.
Is it regarding to the CIT program?
68.
Correct.
Yes. Thank you, trustee Dalzell.
On it.
It's 3 pages past the header, for lack of a better way of putting it. Would you like me to read anything into the record, Chief?
Yeah, go ahead.
Police Department updates. Number 1, I am pleased to announce the implementation of the Police Department Crisis Intervention Team, CIT. The CIT program consists of law enforcement officers who have received intensive specialized training on dealing with individuals in the community who have mental illness or other behavioral disabilities. There are several benefits of a CIT program. Underserved consumers are identified by officers and provided with care. Officers are better trained and educated in verbal de-escalation techniques. Less victimless crime arrests. Repeat calls decrease. Involuntary hospitalizations decrease while voluntary hospitalizations increase. The likelihood of injury decreases for everyone involved, and there's cost savings. And would you like me to read the officers into record who attended? The following officers volunteered for the program and successfully completed the 40-hour state certification: Sergeant Emick, Officer Merlot, Officer Latham, Officer Pantoya, Officer Klopp, and Officer Gonzalez. You're welcome, Chief. My pleasure.
Last update I have for you is the K-9 unit is finishing up class this week, so we're looking forward to him being out on the street real soon.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Chief. Anything else, Trustee Dosal?
No, thank you, Mayor.
The next we'll have the Public Work and Boat Launch Report. Trustee Warres.
I have a presentation of the June 2019 Public Works Department monthly activity report. That's all, Mayor.
Okay. And the Sewer and Water Report. Trustee Nava-Esparza.
Presentation of the June 2019 Sewer and Water Department monthly activity report. That's all, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. The Building and Health Report. Trustee Zelinski.
I have a presentation of the June 2019 Building Department Monthly Activity Report. There was 140 permits issued. Number 2, presentation of the June 2019 Health Department Monthly Activity Report. Number 3, request for an approval, pending approval from the Fire Department and Police Departments, of a block party to take place on Bank Drive on Saturday, August 10th, 2019, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And number 4, request for approval, also pending approval from the Fire and Police Departments, of a block party to take place on 118th Street on Saturday, August 10th, 2019, from 8 a.m. until 12 a.m. Oh, that's a long one.
And say 118th Street's a really big street. Do we know?
I'm scrolling. I'm trying to see if there's something here.
Foster.
Address is 4400 West 118th Street.
Thank you, Clerk.
You're welcome.
That's all tonight.
All right. And the Human Resource and Insurance Report. Trustee Murphy.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Special Committee Reports. Economic Development. Trustee Nava-Esparza.
Presentation of the June 2019 Economic Development Monthly Activity Report, and we do have our consultant, Chris Mannheim, with us tonight to answer any questions.
Good evening. The report that I have here is the one that you received or should have received in your packets for the night. Just some quick updates. The Hebrew Holdings building at 1933 South Pulaski, that is continuing. They're continuing to work with village staff, and I get daily reports from Roger and Dan and Joe about how they're progressing with the sprinkler system. So they're still working closely with the sprinkler system consultant for the company. Once that's done and they get final approval, a final inspection, they'll begin working with Dr. Vaught on the reimbursement through his redevelopment agreement. And I'm already tickled him to let him know to make sure he starts pulling together his documentation for that. Howard Chernowski Strip Mall, that's proceeding. That was approved a couple of weeks ago, or last week, for the TIF grant to repave the front parking lot area and expand the rear parking, as approved. A couple of the other projects with the other vacant land. In fact, we're having a marketing meeting with trees. Help me with your last name. Is it Nava or Nava?
Nava.
I had it. That's what I was thinking. Trustee Nava Esparza and the mayor and the other real estate broker this later this week to begin sharpening our pencils a bit more on a couple of the lots that have been tough to progress on. U.S. Bank, as you know, is closing, but we've been in contact with U.S. Bank, and we're also working with First Midwest as well as with the real estate people from Julasco and their buildings to figure out what other uses we can have for that. On page 2 of the report, how am I doing so far with the microphone? Good? All right. Closer? All right. Then, yeah, a couple other things that you'll see on there that are bulleted on things that we'll be discussing later this week. We continue to work with the other existing businesses. El Coyote continues to be interested in putting together another project, but they seem to be doing pretty well just with making improvements on their own. And then you have what we propose to do. We have a couple of the routine ICSC, the retail trade shows, coming up in August and October, where we'll get the market reports from them. And any questions?
Chris, earlier you and I were talking right before the meeting started and so forth, and I think I always want to articulate to the board. The board understands that not all the time. Maybe everyone, the public and stuff and so forth, may not. But I think the biggest challenge for your company has always been the size of the properties that we're working with. I mean, this has been the story for the last few years. The story hasn't changed. Our lots are 125 feet deep. When we see expansion or new construction that may be happening in other communities, it's almost guaranteed those lots are twice the size.
That's correct.
I mean, there's no other way to look at it. When you drive down Pulaski, the couple of properties that are larger than others is for a reason. They had larger lots and so forth. I mean, the only way we can actually make these properties more appealing is buying out city blocks behind them. That's not going to happen and so forth. So, which is why we bought these properties, we bundle them, and just recently the board agreed to use another source as far as just putting a set of fresh eyes on and stuff then too. I'm looking at this, and certainly I'm just, when it comes to votes, basically I'm a tiebreaker, although I manage the village during the day, but I'm on top of this all day long, so I'm watching this strong. And as I said to you before the meeting started, I feel like sometimes as though I know you and Roger Hopkins are very consistent on what you're doing and what you're looking at all the time, but you're kind of handcuffed at the same time because of the size lot that we can promote. We can't chase, let's just say hypothetically, a Kohl's or something like that, because it's not going to fit on that block anyway and so forth. I mean, if we were talking many other parts of town, maybe we can get something else in there and stuff, but because you're relegated to only working on Pulaski and that's what's paying your company, this is where we're at.
We just have to expand our contract to include Cicero and down to 120.
Exactly, and that's what we were talking about, is how you see. Huh?
Same rate?
See, no response.
That's right.
That's all that coming, But I guess what I was saying to you earlier was I feel as though we're exhausting a lot of what we've chased. I mean, how long have you worked for the village now?
It's been a good 3 years now.
That's what I thought. About 2.5, 3 years now and stuff then too. Do you see anything? Well, first, real quick too. I thought we were going to have something today from the firewater guy. I know I saw the note come
they're
through.
Still, and we contacted them last week again. In fact, it's the update is in the report here.
Right.
On firewater. And they're reorganizing right now, and Mel is supposed to be getting back to us and Matt shortly.
Mm-hmm.
So All I can tell you is that they're working on it, and with that was, I think Roger talked to them on July the 5th.
Okay.
So they are working on it, and they're still serious about that lot.
Okay. That's what I was saying. That's why we brought in
And we're going to be
Delaporto.
working with Frank, and that's why I have a meeting with the trustee and you and
Right.
Frank to begin seeing, at least with a couple of the challenges, to see if we can't find some other way to get better uses for them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm trying to. Delaporto is not there to replace you guys, but it's to put a fresh set of eyes
Exactly,
on that.
and Roger
support
and I are
that,
both used to working with site selectors and brokers all the time.
Mhm.
Brokers like to do economic development. Economic developers legally in Illinois aren't allowed to do brokerage, so you got to have a broker involved somewhere.
Right. So going back to where I was just at, do you see anything that you feel is going to pop in the next couple of months? Is there anything? In other words, is there anything on the stove that's done?
There are, yeah. It's going to be the same story. Sometimes this stuff takes years.
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to discuss. Go through the ESRA reports. Roger and I went through to figure out what the supply and demand are with what the marketplace is doing right now. There are certain types of service businesses and such that are that would be able to look at this. There's other businesses that just look at second or third generation properties, which is what we have in Pulaski. So yeah, there's no miracle that's going to happen, to say the least. And that's in the market report. I believe that just went to you, trustee, and to you, mayor, and that for Wednesday.
What I asked you to compile a list of everything that's gone on over the last 3 years.
And you've got that, yeah.
Right, and I actually forwarded that to all the trustees, so everybody got a chance to see it and stuff.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
We're still picking at the fruit, but you got to remember, it's the market conditions. You're not going to, the lot size, you're also looking at what the 10-minute drive time and population incomes are. All those things are part of it. But yeah, there's no rabbit out of the hat stuff. Yeah, it's just you got to be consistent. You got to keep doing the follow-up. There are some businesses, if nothing else, on the list we'll go through again on Wednesday. We also include the businesses that have already said, nope, we're not interested in Pulaski. So we keep track of that too. So we keep narrowing it down and look for new opportunities.
And we have a current map of what this TIF actually covers on Pulaski. Because there's a lot of cutouts in there. Because when the TIF was originally created, it was for the undeveloped or the blighted properties. There were certain properties that were precluded from it because of either recent development, and I think the two banks here aren't inclusive of the TIF properties.
Yeah, those are.
Nevertheless, we're working with them.
Is the U.S. Bank, is that?
Yeah.
That is in the TIF.
I have to go back and actually look at the map. I believe it is. I believe First Midwest is too. And First Midwest have told us that they're going to continue to have a
I
presence
don't have a
on
map in
Pulaski.
front of me right now, so I'm not sure.
Rick, I'll have to actually go look at the map itself for those. I believe they are, though, within the TIF. I may be wrong on that.
Yeah.
But if nothing else around Pulaski, we continue to work with them whether they're there or not. They are definitely a presence. And looking for reuses for those facilities is something that, again, we'll talk on Wednesday. But yeah, I'll have to, without having the map in front of me, I'll have to take a look at it. I'm waiting for Kent here to say that he's got the map popped up. He's going to tell me. Just a second, we'll get a specific answer. If they're actually in the TIF or not, we've been working with their real estate folks for the past several months.
I have a map, it's just not a great map.
I have one here.
The library
Yeah, U.S. Bank is within the TIF.
What about First Midwest?
Chase Bank is excluded, yeah.
And what about First Midwest?
First Midwest is in there as well.
Right.
The library is excluded.
Yeah, so the boundary rail lines just skirt the library, chases outside of it. First Midwest is, we're also in contact with them on a regular basis. Yeah. And with some of the other properties, for example, at Hebrew Holdings, that's Dr. Vaught's building. We've been working with him, for example, and then working with First Midwest across the street and whatever, look, to see if there's any available parking. So we have additional parking, and that's all the part of the problem. And one of the other challenges, too, with these properties, you don't have a lot of enough parking for a lot of the facilities. So,
Right.
so we continue to work with those kind of issues, too. You're working with something that was built in the 1950s.
No, I get it. And,
So
and that's what I'm saying.
this makes it a little more challenging than fresh properties.
And that's where I was going with my conversation
absolutely
with
right,
you earlier, is that it's been a challenge from day one. Your organization's been consistent to try and promote the word, promote, the development, and most of the people down Pulaski took advantage of that, which is great. Kind of a 50-50 share. And we saw recently when we had our balanced budget that we actually underestimated how much came in. It actually did prove to work, and we brought in 6% more retail sales taxes than what we anticipated, which was a great thing. I just feel as though we're kind of exhausting efforts at this point, and that's what I'm saying is, like, I want to make sure that, for what we spend on this, and we've been doing this for almost 3 years, let's say ballpark number, you spent $150,000, and we exceeded that number with what we brought in retail sales tax, but we haven't actually brought in like a lot of new development. We got a lot of people to kind of redo their place to stimulate more business and so forth, but nothing outside of that really, though, too, which is why we bought the properties to make that happen, which is, we're right in the middle of that at the same time.
But we're not done with those yet, so we'll keep working on it.
I guess my thing to the board would be, how does everybody else feel about this? I mean,
If I can chime in, I'm in favor of taking a step back to just think about, strategically how we want to move forward and exploring other options. Frank DiLiberto and his firm is a professional service as well. It's a new fresh set of eyes, like the mayor had said, but also for us as a village to kind of identify trends that are emerging and that perhaps we're not considering. And at this time, I'd like to take a step back and re-strategize.
That's what we're going to be doing Wednesday at our meeting. Take a look at that.
let's follow through our meeting. Let's see if we can take this further, okay? If not, Chris, in other words, I just want to make sure we're spending properly and that we're getting a return on our investment. Nothing's a guaranteed deal, I get that. But if you can present something that you think may turn this thing forward, maybe there can be more consideration for that then too. So let's take that meeting this week. We're going to meet this Wednesday morning, right?
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Next is the Village Properties, Trustee McGlohan.
Okay, I don't actually have anything on the agenda, but Roger, I have a question. Been approached by Oak Street Health, and they've offered to provide free yoga classes at the Heritage One complex. I didn't know if that's anything that is allowable. No, it would be, scheduled yoga classes for the seniors.
The Park District is presently doing classes at Heritage 2 on Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken.
At Heritage 2.
At Heritage
and
2.
You guys wanted to do it at Heritage 1.
Something we can look into. I don't have a problem with that. I can reach out to them and have a conversation with them.
I can give you.
What kind of class was that again, too?
Yoga classes.
Okay.
Bending and stretching for those old senior bodies.
Okay.
Hey, sometimes that's about all you can manage.
Roger, did we ever get that thing straightened, or maybe Mike would know, did we ever get that streetlight thing straightened out, too, by Heritage?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, and I did see last week or so, I saw over here on 123rd, we'd straighten out that streetlight issue over here, too. There was one that was bad for a while. Okay. Next, we have the Ordinance and Legislation Committee, Trustee Zelinski.
I have a request for an approval of an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Licenses, Permits, and Business Regulations, Article 13, 19, Tobacco Products of the Municipal Code of the Village of Alsip. That's all I have tonight. Thank you. I was doing the math.
I forgot, I was looking again myself with the ordinance
Just to go to 21.
for the 21-year-old thing, right? Yeah.
But it's like, not this
And
one
then
though.
the vape products and all the other stuff.
Is the way I interpret this though, it's primarily geared towards the businesses. Are we going to do something separate for minors in possession, or?
Well, that's what I was mentioning earlier, is that there's still a municipal violation for that for people in possession underage. So you still have if you get caught with,
Well, right now though, that still says 18 though, doesn't it?
well, no, that's what our ordinance is restating now, is persons under 21 years of age.
In the car with a minor.
The ordinance said
Change
was
the law from 18 to 21 for tobacco.
changed by Joe Car. It includes the selling, possession, or use of tobacco under 21. So it pretty much just changed the age on it, and everything else stayed the same.
Okay.
So again, yeah, tobacco products, sale to or possession by a person under 21 years is a Class C ordinance violation. That's $100 all the way up to $750, depending on how often you're being caught with this, too. So it's a $100 violation. You know, I know we've talked about this before, and Chief, maybe you can speak to it, but with something like this, I mean, is it always necessary that they can't prepay a violation like that? Because on here, there's no prepay on that yet.
Traditionally, those have not been prepaid because, well, especially when it was the old ordinance, when it was under 18, those were minors. So they had to appear,
Right.
required a guardian and all those types of things. Now that it's 21, it's something we can look at. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It seems it's...
Yeah, 18 to 21, they should be able to prepay because they're an adult.
Right. And according to our ordinance, it doesn't allow that. This is not, it doesn't allow for that. And again, this is where we look at these matters sometimes too, to have, to reword these. I would think maybe, I'd like to see this be prepaid, because I think it's really, and I get this all the time from people that come into municipal violation court. I mean, it depends on what they are, but people are taking a day off of work to come to MV court. You know, it costs them $100, but they might have lost $2 at their job. That kind of
Do the
thing,
crime
too,
if you
know.
can't spend the time.
I know, but when it comes to a cigarette like that, from 18 to 21, you know, to lose a day from work and so forth seems unnecessary from 18 to 21.
Require a lot of reworking, though, because you're going to have a flat fee. It's not going to be a range then. And it's just, you know, it's going to have to be $100.
How do you gauge the reoffender?
I know. That's what we're getting at.
If there's a fine range.
And I'm saying, a cop writing the ticket at the time.
I mean, I can see, like, as the trustee said, if it was a minor, you had an adult come in with the minor and so forth, but now you're talking people 18 to 21.
The other things to consider, too, is, well, what's
18 to 20, I'm sorry.
if it's a business who's selling it, I would consider that a more egregious offense than a kid who's possessing it. Because that
Agreed.
business should know better or have better checks in place and guidelines like that. So that's why there's a range involved, too. So.
Okay. I don't know, it's for discussion. If we see a problem with it, we can bring that back up yet, too, so. I just think sometimes you should be able to prepay a few of these things, that's all.
And the whole purpose for the range was for those repeat offenders, for those people who didn't get it the first time. Kind of step it up until the pain level got to a point where they would comply. That's the whole purpose of the MV court, is it's a compliance court.
We don't have any kind of database that tells people, I mean, it would tell the judge the same thing, how many times this person's been cited for such?
I I will put it in the budget for next year.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, that's actually, a question I would have. Is that something, if somebody's been convicted of, say, municipal violation, is that going to show up on a criminal search the next time the police run them?
No, not on a criminal search. There's programs available to municipal courts, so like our ordinance court, that will keep track of it. They can pull up a person by name and see how many violations they had and what they were before here in Alsip. But yeah, it's going to cost. I did price it out last year. I think it was like $4 or $5 grand or something like that. But it'll be available to the hearing officer to use in their judgment. After a while, they start to know people by names. So, you know.
I can tell you, ordinance court last month ran 4 hours, right, Chief? 4 hours people were packed in here because everyone wanted to challenge their ticket, which those things happen, but to think you sat in this room for 4 hours to pay the $100 cigarette ticket, that kind of thing. We actually, some people got a little out of hand. We had to show them the door by the end of the day. And I get it, they're a little antsy and stuff then too. You know, I'm not saying I agree with them, but the police had asked people to leave because they were just getting out of hand, waiting so long. So this is what I want to eliminate, is those kind of situations happening. Not to mention it costs us money too.
That's true. I mean, the flip side is regular court is 4 to 6 hours, and it's usually more than one day. You usually have to come back 2 or 3 months. So, I don't know.
And an attorney.
Pardon me?
And an attorney.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, right? So, all right, anyway, thank you, Trustee. Anything else? Trustee Zelinski?
No, that's all.
Okay. IT, Trustee Dalzell?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. The Plan, Zoning, and Licenses, Trustee Juarez.
I have a discussion of the upcoming planning and zoning public hearing to take place on Wednesday, July 10, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. for case 2019-07-S-100 regarding a change in zoning from I-2 to I-2 special use of a property commonly known as 12530 South Springfield. Number 2, presentation of a list of licenses dated June 25th, 2019 through July 5th, 2019. That's all, Mayor.
You know, I didn't have it on the agenda because I just had this come up right before the meeting, started tonight, was that a gentleman that we spoke about, might have been last year, wants to revisit the opportunity to open a tattoo studio. The Village of Alsip doesn't have one. Roger, can you grab a mic real quick? Have you been following this gentleman too?
I did have a conversation with him on Friday. He was looking to open up a business for a tattoo parlor at 5044 West 127th, which is I-2, or I'm sorry, I-1.
Okay.
He had mentioned to me, and I wasn't aware that he made a presentation before the board at that time, but I believe it was September 4th, September 10th. That's when I was out. He stated that he made the presentation and he was looking to move forward with going before planning and zoning and asking to get the special use at that location to do tattoos. The issue that he was, right now there's an ordinance in place for tattoo parlors or massage. They had to have a medical assistant on staff,
Right.
basically having a doctor on staff.
Yeah, we cleaned that up. And actually, I did, Becky showed me, I actually did send him an email that I saw today that our attorney confirmed that he didn't, that's not in play anymore. In other words, a tattoo business would be an acceptable business here, but that you need a special use permit in order to operate one, that's all.
Yeah, I went through Muni Code. I didn't find anything that was changed with that, and that's what I had told him on Friday.
Okay, maybe it might be outdated. We'll double check on that. But trustees, I guess my question would be is, provided we have a good recommendation to approve a special use, I'll put it on the agenda next week for a vote, but I would ask that would the board approve a license for this particular business if he participates and pays the price and everything else for a plan and zoning hearing? Will we create a tattoo license, because we've never done such in the history of this village that I know of anyway, right?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay, so I'll put one on there, because in other words, people always want to know, they don't mind spending the money if they know there's an end game, but they haven't spent $700 to $1,000 on a planning and zoning hearing, only to have us say, no, we're not going to do that anyway.
I know this was brought up a while ago, and the issue is that you had to have a license, the way the ordinance read, you had to have a licensed medical professional on site.
Right.
And we determined that, well, they put that in there because they really didn't want, at that time, to have a tattoo parlor in the town. Because how could you pay a doctor to stand there while you're inking somebody?
And just recently in the news, there was a couple of other local communities just did the same thing. They had provisions, and by today's language, it's not relevant anymore and stuff then too. So, but I'll put this to the board next week. But this gentleman does want to come back, does want to pursue this, doesn't mind having a planning and zoning hearing, but if the board isn't interested in having that type of business, what's the point in doing it? So, and really what the Planning and Zoning Commission is going to do is determine if that's a good spot to have that business on too at the same time. So, any presentations, petitions, or communications?
Before we move on, I'm just a little confused. Just, Monica, the wording on number 1, it's a discussion of the upcoming planning and zoning hearing, but we didn't discuss anything.
That was basically just to give you guys an update of where it was going to be on Wednesday, and the mayor did a spectacular job of giving the whole rundown of what's
We got
transpiring.
in front of it. Okay.
Okay.
With the 6B stuff.
Beginning of the
yeah.
meeting? Okay.
Any presentations, petitions, or communications?
May I?
Go ahead.
Just a reminder that vehicle stickers were due last week. Late fees begin on Thursday, July 11th, and basically it's half, again, of the cost of a sticker. So a car currently is $35 as of Thursday, it'll go to $52.50. And as of August 11th, it doubles. So a $35 vehicle sticker will cost you $70 as of the middle of August.
Okay. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you for joining us tonight, folks. We'll adjourn this meeting at 7:54. 8:54.
8:54.
Right. And please enjoy your evening. Thank you.